Hey everybody, welcome to the Life by Taylor podcast. Today I am so excited to have someone who is so special, such a pure soul on this week's episode. I have been following Cody since last summer. He had like 3,000 followers and I told myself, wow, he's gonna blow up. I really hope he blows up. And every time I see those numbers go up, I'm like, thank you, universe. People like him just need to be out there. People need to see you more. So happy and so grateful to have you here. And I just want to say it's amazing to see how even as you grow, your light shines the same way it did with those 3,000 followers. Like nothing really changed except for the fact that more people get to see you. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Aw, thank you so much for all those kind words. My heart feels warm. It almost brought a tear to my eye already. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for your love and all of everything you said. And I'm just so grateful to be in the position that I'm in to be able to spread this light. So thank you for having me. This is so exciting.
Thank you. So like I told you, Cody, we're going to start with a few questions that I'm going to have people answer, and hopefully they'll learn a lot. I'm sure they'll learn a lot from hearing your perspective. You're so special. So the first question I want to ask you is, do you feel like you use social media consciously?
Yes. It's been a process, like everything. But right now in my life, I do feel like I use it consciously. Yeah, and again, that's been an ongoing process for me. At first, maybe a couple years ago when it started, I wasn't too aware of everybody that I was following. I kind of just wasn't too aware how I was spending my energy, mindlessly scrolling sometimes and getting lost. But then just over time, like growing, realizing, get stuck in those little loops and wanting to be more mindful. And me personally, I realized how much it affected my day.
Right.
When I would be mindlessly scrolling or using it unconsciously, how much it would take away from the things I really care about, being present, meditating, and all of those lovely things. So it's been a process, but yes, as of now, I do use it consciously.
Beautiful. I do think that a lot of people, they kind of see it as like an all or nothing thing. They see it as like a negative platform. And this happened because of social media, and so many good things can come out of social media. So I like to encourage people to use it consciously because it's there, and the more people contributing to it, putting that light and that beautiful, pure intentioned content on there is just kind of, countering all of the negativity and all of the superficial things on there. We need people like you and like myself as well to spread the love on social media.
Absolutely. Yes. I really couldn't agree more. I mean, what a special time to have this platform. I know, like you said, a lot of people could see it as a negative thing, or technology to see it as a negative thing, but it's also been a way to bring hundreds of thousands of people together to spread love and light. So yeah, it could be the most beautiful thing in the entire world also.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're doing here. That's what you've created as well.
Yes, thank you. So the second question I want to ask you, because I really look up to you as someone who really does carry that light and that love, and I love how you say love is your religion. I want to ask you, do you feel guilty when your mind goes to places of judgment or negative emotions towards other people? Because, at our core, we know that we're all the same, and I really do practice that on such a high level, but sometimes, we go to that that programming of judging someone or looking down on someone naturally. And sometimes I'm really hard on myself when that happens. So I wanted to ask if that ever happens to you and how you manage that.
Totally. That absolutely has been a process. I think anybody would be lying if they said they didn't have the natural thoughts or judgments pop up because of the millions of ways we were conditioned, what we were, our own unique experiences. And for a while, I carried guilt with that. That I would feel those judgments. And then I realized that it was just a very natural part of this human experience to feel these things, to let them arise. But in the end, it's up to me how conscious I want to be with that. And I can either hold on to that and follow those judgments and paint this person how I want them to be. Or I can just, I don't know, it's really a beautiful thing now. It's really, really, it's really a beautiful thing because I'm still aware. I still have the natural thoughts. I still get irritated. I still find myself in my judging mind. But now, almost just like a little pesky brother, I'm just like, it's just part of me. It's just a part of me right now. And I'm unlearning that. And I know my true core is non-judgmental.
Right.
But instead of beating myself up, because so much of my life I have been so hard on myself. and just being lighthearted with myself, not beating myself up, and just realizing that's a very normal human experience to feel.
Right.
But not holding on to that.
Do you feel like the less judgmental you are towards yourself, the easier it is to practice non-judgment on other people? Like the more you come to peace with that? Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Anytime I'm too hard on myself and my mind and I'm struggling, I always see that directly reflects in the outside world. How I treat everybody, the space I have within myself. If I'm realizing this more now in life, the less space I have within myself, the easier I get frustrated, the easier I get upset, the easier that I lose the present moment with somebody and get too caught in what really doesn't matter.
Right. I really like what you said, that you know that your best self and at your core you're non-judgmental, right? So it's about not identifying with that judgment. It's about saying, okay, this is just an automatic process that happens almost, that's not me, that's just something that's happening outside of myself, and I can take it back, move it away.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Just like the negative, anxious, sad thoughts we get, they're not us. Right. They're not really us. We can either choose to make them us and hold on to them, or we can just see them like a cloud. So I'm seeing the way my little judgments as little clouds right now.
I love that. I think that's a great one. So
thank you.
Would you give up on feeling negative emotions forever?
Would I give up on them?
Yeah.
If I had the chance to never feel a negative emotion?
Yes.
Ooh. No, I wouldn't give that up. I wouldn't give that up because that's what kind of keeps my art alive in a way. Now it does come from such a pure place of happiness and joy and bliss, but I would be lying if I didn't say that I look out in the world and see the injustices going on and see what's going on to my brothers and sisters. And, it's going to make me cry a little bit. If I didn't allow myself to feel those negative emotions that they feel, then I don't think I would have the fire in me to keep going to make this world a better place if I didn't ever allow myself to be a human and feel these negative things, not only for my own growth, but just to be there for everybody else too.
Right, to actually be able to
I think I would lose this fire.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that draws people to you most, and I could say that at least from my perspective, is that I really feel like you simplify things that feel so lonely and complex when I'm feeling them, and you make them seem so universal and so, natural and okay, and it's your ability to articulate them they're so specific that you're just like, wow, he's right. This is it's okay to feel like this sometimes. I think my favorite thing were the monsters that you created. The monsters were my favorite. I was like, this is it. These monsters, they're real.
I love that. Yes. I haven't thought about Monster Mondays in so long. I love
bring it back.
That.
I love those monsters.
I will.
Yeah, so I think those negative emotions are also really important to be able to empathize with others and connect with others, but I think we also extract really beautiful lessons and growth from those negative emotions. Like, we learn the most from them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I wouldn't give up on them either.
No, not at all. Not at all. Just as a beautiful part of life. Another experience to be had.
Right. I think it comes back to, just loving life unconditionally, fully, wholly, and not, just liking it when it's fun and joyful and exciting. There's beauty in everything.
Totally. Because it is easy to really like it when everything's going good and going your way, but it's a good spiritual practice when things are falling apart to find that.
How do you feel like, do you feel like you're aware of that while it's happening? Because I feel like when I'm sitting here in a good moment, I can say that. And I think even during the negative emotions, I could tell myself, I know I'll come out of this and see the beauty in it. But as I'm in it, do you feel like you have gotten to a place where you're aware of it even as you're experiencing it?
Yeah, I notice the more I take care of myself. And whatever that means to me, whatever that means to you, to me it looks like meditation, yoga, praying, reading, stretching, sunlight, nature. Doing all of that, I get put in this place of just, it puts me in this freer place. And as I do this, I get more space within. And as I get more space within, I get more space within. So I call it awareness. I'm trying to put it into terms. I'm put it into this awareness within. And as this awareness grows, as I fall into these ditches, which I still do because I'm human, the more I'm taking care of myself and the larger this awareness, the quicker I notice and the quicker I can pull myself out of. Where before I could fall into a ditch, and one thought could lead to 10 thoughts, could
For
lead
sure.
to a bad day, could lead
Yes.
to 5 bad weeks in a row. And before I know it, I'm like, oh my gosh, how'd I get here?
Yeah.
But now the more I take care of myself, and I call it living in my spirit, this awareness, the easier I can be aware of when it's happening. And just being aware of that right there, not only, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to fall into that ditch still at all.
Right.
But I can do things right then that I
Right.
know will better that. So
Yeah.
to go do meditating, to go breathe, to make sure I'm eating foods that are good for me, doing all that I can within my control to make that ditch last is not as long, not
Right.
as long
I feel like if there's
as I can.
if there's two sides of us inside, I feel like you're feeding and fueling and nurturing the part of you that you want to be stronger than the parts of you that you're not feeding that part of you. It's natural, it'll happen, but you really have your best self, your highest self is much stronger now once you're taking care of yourself and taking time to feed it and nurture it and give it attention and hype it up.
Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Absolutely. And now even when the bad times hit, instead of thinking maybe before, when I was in my thinking mind, oh, I'm in this bad time, I'm stuck, I hope I get out of this rut soon, or that would be the constant thought pattern, where now it's like, okay, what blessings or what lessons can I find in this valley right now if I sit with it?
Right.
So
and
just the perspective of what pain and struggle is now isn't so miserable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's really a muscle that you practice, and the more you practice that, the easier it gets. I wouldn't say the word easy, but I would say the more you have that awareness, you could pull that awareness into the situation a lot easier over time. I fully can relate with that. That's beautiful. I want to ask a question. Do you think that people have to experience true darkness to really see the light? Because I feel like if enlightenment is a thing, I see you as someone who is definitely enlightened. And do you feel like it is always a result of experiencing darkness?
What's crazy is I used to read all these spiritual books when I was in this dark place, and a lot of them said that you did not have to reach enlightenment, didn't have to just come from extreme suffering. A lot of stories did, but in my experience, I can't say it did. It did.
Right.
I don't know how I would know this light. I don't know how I would smile so bright now. I don't know how I would shine this way if I didn't experience all of that darkness. And even myself, because before I was working as a therapist for homicidal and suicidal kids, going through the worst things that I could have ever imagined seeing, and even working with them with depression and anxiety and suicidal thoughts, I thought I understood, but not until I went through it a year later while I was still working with them, going through all my own stuff, did I really understand, like, oh man, people really go through this, because my childhood wasn't like this. I didn't experience anxiety or depression. It just kind of hit me all in one day. So for me, absolutely, like I can't imagine that I could be at this place right now without spending so much time in the darkness and getting to know the darkness.
Right.
I don't want to say that to make everybody think they have to be in such a horrible place, especially for such a long time. Mm-hmm. But from my experience, the darkness really has been my greatest teacher.
Right.
Truly.
That's beautiful, and that's really honest. And I think that it's true that people can still always, reach newer, higher levels of consciousness without going through extreme suffering. But for the people who are right now watching this, listening to this, who are in that really, really dark place, what would you say to them? What would you say to yourself if you could talk to yourself back then when you were stuck?
It's going to make me start crying already. I would say that to just keep going, because it really does get better. Like, it really does. Even when you think there's absolutely no hope it could get 1% better, it really does. And better than you could even think in this moment. Way better than you could even think. Worlds better than you could even think. And over time, that this darkness and this pain won't seem so heavy. And over time, you won't identify so much with it. And who you are will change. Who you identify as in relationship to this darkness will change.
Yes.
And over time, this heaviness and this fog will start to lift, and you'll start to identify less and less with this, and you'll start to see it as a beautiful experience, even though it may seem impossible to feel right now. But it will all make sense one day. It will all make sense, and instead of And instead of running from this darkness, if you're struggling, because I did for a long time, I encourage you to just sit with it and feel it and let it take over you if it has to. Just don't avoid it or numb it or try to escape it, and let it wash over you. And then you'll see that you are still there and that you are okay and you are still taken care of. And there is still that awareness and that light that is still there. So whatever you're doing, just keep going and don't run. And don't run because don't run is the biggest thing, because I did for so long. I was so scared of death. I was so scared of the darkness, and I wanted to just solve it all like a math problem.
Yes.
Like one big science equation. And I thought I could find this perfect formula. But what I really needed to do was just sit and feel it and die to it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see that. I have, first of all, that was beautiful and really well said. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait for people who are in those moments right now to hear that, because it really, you can hear that you know exactly what it feels like. And I coach clients and help people, find their best self and strengthen themselves from within. And I really can see how that idea of identifying with it and trying to fight it and trying to go against it. And I'm like, thoughts can't be thoughts. You have to just quiet the thoughts, get still, let them come and go. Like you said, like a wave, like let it wash over you. Stop trying to run away from it. That's it. That is really the best advice, I think, that you could give. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So beautiful. Do you believe that the best way to improve the world, and I know a lot of people are out there trying to fix the world, and we have a lot of injustices going on that people are super passionate about fixing, but do you feel like truly the best way to fix the world is to start healing yourself?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think that's the only place to start. And that's just my silly opinion. But
Same.
I think if you don't heal and create that space within yourself, and you're carrying unhealed trauma and you're carrying all this negativity within yourself towards yourself, that there's no way that could not be manifested on everybody in your life, into the entire world. So, and I hear a lot of people say, I want to change the world. I want to change the entire world. But unless you change yourself and be that change and create that space, and I'm realizing that the people that actually change the world are the ones that are just being it.
Yes.
They're just being it. That's all they're doing. They're being it. They're living it. It's not a piece of art. It's not anything. It's the way they treat everybody. It's the way they walk. It's the way they speak. It's
the way they treat themselves.
The way they treat themselves, absolutely. And it reflects everywhere. And you can tell when somebody really loves themselves and they're comfortable in their skin, you can feel it. It's they could walk in the room and they're just shining, and you don't know what it is. It's something beyond words. And hey, that person just feels good to be around. Maybe that's the only feeling you notice, but I can always feel it when somebody loves themselves and is very comfortable.
Same.
And that's infectious.
Yeah, it really is. That idea of it being infectious. I think people underestimate how much of a ripple effect it is on everything around you. And I think I've noticed that the more I focus on myself and healing myself, that all of a sudden, my parents change, my brother changes, and my friends start to change. And I'm like, whoa, totally. I didn't even think this would happen. Like, I was just trying to get happy,
Totally,
It's crazy. Like, even just interactions with everyday people on the street, you can really carry that light, and people really underestimate. I feel like we're also conditioned to not be selfish and not to put ourselves first, and not to, we're always taught to take care of others, but really you affect the maximum amount of people when you truly are carrying the brightest light that you have inside of you, and feel good about yourself. It's beautiful to see. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Do you feel like the more that you step into your authentic power and the more you're yourself, because I really feel it on you, even through Instagram, which is crazy, without even knowing you, I'm like, this guy, his light shines like through my phone. But do you feel like you are, maximizing your ability to change the world?
Are you asking me
if I am? I'm asking you,
yeah.
Do you feel like you're maximizing, you feel like at this point in your life where you're really shining so bright and doing you and feeling good, that you're doing more than you've ever been able to do to help people and fix the world in whatever way you can? Totally.
I do feel like I'm shining as bright as I've ever shined. And It's, it used to put a little bit more pressure on myself with the art, anything like that. But now I just realize that just being and then being present, if I can just focus on that, the rest ends up taking care of itself.
Right.
Like it totally takes care of itself. The art comes, the connections come, the love comes. If I'm just taking care of myself and being present. But I'm also hard on myself.
Yeah.
I'm also a human, and I still think that we're really capable of infinite things. I mean, stuff we still haven't seen in this world. I think literally infinity is possible. So, and I've always been hard on myself, pushing myself to grow. So I still know that I could be doing more. And there's always this pressure. Even it's a struggle that I'm working on now. Even a day where I know I should relax and take a break for myself, I still have this pressure within myself, or this fire that I should be doing more because there's so many people struggling, and that alone pushes me to grow. And just knowing that until I die, most likely there's going to be so many people struggling. So
right.
I have so much work to do in that sense. So in one way, I don't think that fire will ever die.
Right.
But in another way, I'm proud of myself. I'm shining brighter than I've ever been. I'm freer than I've ever been. I'm happier than I've ever been. So yeah, at the same time, I feel like I'm the best version of myself, but I could still be more.
I want to tell you that we need you to rest. We really do. and I really want you to remember this, because I think that, people underestimate how hard it is to just be. Like, it seems like the lazy thing to do is to rest. The lazy thing to do is to not be productive. But I find that in today's world, it's much harder for people to nap in the middle of the day than it is for them to get another task done off their to-do list. Like, that internal pressure, that voice that bullies us into getting things done all the time, doing the maximum, is so counterproductive. Like, I really try to inspire people to rest if they need to rest and take time to themselves. Like, we need people to feel good. We don't need them to just produce. We're not machines. So
totally,
I'm asking you to rest.
Okay, well, you're the fourth person that's cared about me, that's told me that in the last week, so I better listen.
Yes, you better listen.
Okay, I'm gonna get some rest, because I know that's something I need to work on.
Good. I'm happy. I'm happy to contribute
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for affirming that.
I was looking at some of your first drawings on your story highlight. I actually looked at them a really long time ago. I screenshotted so many of them. They're so good. But the ones that I love the most are the ones where you ask, would your kid self recognize you today? And I want to ask you that question. Do you feel like your kid self would recognize you today?
Yeah, I do. I really do. As of the past 2 or 3 years, I feel so much like my kid self. Just the wonder and the curiosity and the awe to just be alive. The playfulness,
yes.
to just laughter, to get caught up in the moment. And I'll even have these moments now that I can't describe. It'll be a certain feeling. It'll take me back to even a certain memory in childhood. Super random, specific memory that I haven't even thought about until then. But it'll bring this euphoric butterfly feeling that I had when I was a kid, of just this memory, and it takes over my whole being, and I don't know what that is going on, but I feel myself becoming more and more like my real child self.
Yes, I can totally agree. I feel like the more I step into being myself, the more I feel connected to who I was as a kid. Like, I start to like the same colors I did when I was a kid, and
Same,
I start to do things that I loved doing then that I kind of gave up on and said oh, that was just when I was a kid, didn't take that so seriously. And the playfulness, and not, I feel like that drawing that you have, I don't know, you posted it recently, where you see the light is getting smaller as the child turns into the adult. It really is that. But people, the more they connect with themselves, they can kind of make that light grow, and they end up being almost exactly like their kid self. That
absolutely,
that pure amazing light that's just so curious and playful and excited to live.
Absolutely.
You should do a reverse one.
I know, I was just literally just thinking that, and I hope people know I don't mean the light has to ever shrink, but in this life, it seems like in this society, life has a way of hardening us and making us forget about those things.
Right.
Because life is hard. Life does get really hard sometimes, and so it makes sense, but a reminder that it does not have to shrink.
Right, but I think the beauty of life's journey, I feel like it would suck if it would stay like that always, because we wouldn't even know what it's like for it to diminish. And I think that our whole, purpose in life is to kind of come back to that. It's a process that I feel like you really can show the evolution of a life, that we start like that, and it goes smaller and smaller, but then we have an opportunity to bring it back and stand as an adult in that light.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
I love that. So those were my poll questions, and now I just have a few questions that I'd love to ask you, open questions.
Absolutely. Those are fun poll questions.
Yeah, thanks. I think the people will really enjoy answering them and hearing your responses. They're great. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Who did you think you needed to be before you were free to be yourself? What was the person that you were pressuring yourself to become, or other people were pressuring you to become, before you actually let yourself be you?
That's really good. Let me really think about this one. I like this question.
Take your time.
Yeah, okay. I think maybe super subconsciously. Nobody's ever asked me this, so I've never said all of this out loud, but maybe before, my parents maybe put some pressure on me, definitely head-butted a little bit towards religion growing up, but then kind of broke free entirely and was doing my thing at 18 or so, totally what I would feel is free. But then at that time when I was starting my own spiritual journey entirely, I feel like I always maybe had this pressure that I had to do or achieve something or to become something. And maybe that was the super, super subconscious core of it, that I just had this pressure that, my gosh, I got to do something with my life. I have to be somebody. I always wanted to help people. That's what my biggest passion was forever. So I was like, I need to be helping people. And I felt guilty that I wasn't. And I had this pressure of just, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What, at school, they tell you once you get done high school, at least where I'm from, hey, what are you going to be? Where are you going to go to school?
Right.
What are you going to do with your life? And it's all this pressure. And then you're questioning spirituality and life and death and all this stuff at the same time. And it's just overwhelming.
It is.
Overwhelming. So I think I started to become me fully maybe 5 years ago, really step into that when I realized that I had nothing to prove anymore to anybody. I had nothing. Best feeling. And there was nothing I needed to do. And if I had the realization that even if I were to die, then I would be completely whole. Right. And everything would still be okay. And just creating and living from that place where I don't have to be a certain thing to somebody, or I don't have to achieve a certain thing to be successful. Put in a box. Exactly. I don't have to be put in any box at all. So just realizing that, but it did take me a long time to get there. Yeah, totally. And that it takes a long time to get there.
Yes, it does. Unfortunately.
But yeah, I think I stepped into that about 4 or 5 years ago fully.
Beautiful. I feel like because even for me, where I feel like I have also recently fully embraced that, despite a lot of external pressure, that even when someone still till this day says, so what do you do? What do you do? Who are you? It's this idea, I have to now put myself in some box that's convenient for other people to understand, or I have to define myself that's in a way that's limiting because I see myself as infinite. I don't see myself as one thing. I don't see myself as just a coach or just a podcast host. I see myself as just a being. I really don't define myself based on what I do in my daily life. Right, exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I can tell you, just from your being alone, you carry a great light with you, and I can feel your love and warmth from here over a computer. So I hope that just by your being alone, I can feel a lot of love.
Thank you. And I hope people who are watching this, who think they need to be something or someone or have some sort of title, you don't. You just have to be. You just have to be.
That's it. More simple than it looks.
It's so freeing.
That's the thing.
It really is. It brings all the pressure out. You're like, wow, this is so much more fun.
Totally.
You get to reinvent yourself all the time. People define themselves, and then if they're so attached to that title, to that job, to that role, and they don't let themselves fully experience life.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm even realizing this in even freeing fun ways, because for a while, people started to know me as a doodler or a poet, and that was cool. Then I started to know myself. I would wake up and thought, oh, I should write a poem because I'm a poet. And that alone was a box for myself because some mornings I felt like dancing. Or really, I wanted to dance. I didn't want to write a poem. But in my mind, oh, everybody thinks I'm a poet.
Right.
My poems are helping the world. I should write a poem. But my being wanted to dance.
Oh, your being has so much more for us. I'm sure of it. I'm sure. I see your drawings. I'm like, this is just the beginning. This is just. I really know. And like, I feel like that's the ego. You know, the ego is like, okay, this is you now. Here you go. You're a poet now. Like, this is you. Now be the best poet. And it's like, but I don't want to only be a poet. I want to do other stuff. Totally. Even if it's a good fun thing, it's a trap. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Yes. To define is to limit, right? We want to keep our mind open and all the doors open.
Absolutely.
Yes. So we all have those little voices in our head, you know, from our teachers, or sometimes it's a parent, or sometimes it's someone from the past who is just not nice to us. And I feel like a lot of times we carry this like voice, this like panel of judges that are criticizing us. We bring them with us throughout our life. And I just wanted to ask, like, as someone who is so creative, and I think that creativity automatically, you know, to be creative, you have to be vulnerable. You have to put yourself out there and just trust things will work out. Did you have those voices when you started? How did you let go of them? Did you just create anyways? Like, how do you manage that?
Yeah, as far as the creative process?
Yeah.
As far as my creative process?
The creative process and like the inner critic that's like bullying you almost, like these voices of like, you're not good enough. This isn't a real job. What are you doing? Like all of those things.
Yeah, totally. And you know, at first, yes. Just that whole experience of just coming into myself in that way has been really beautiful. And, you know, I always knew at first on this spiritual journey that the most beautiful thing I could do was be myself, was to find peace within myself. I always knew that more than anything. So making that my main goal and just trusting that. And I remember so many times just like, am I doing the right thing? Creating this, creating that, and questioning it. And always praying. And then always the answer that would come up would be, just be yourself. Just keep being yourself.
Yes.
Just keep being yourself.
But
work
it's so
on that.
Scary. It's so scary.
It's so crazy how just being yourself can be scary in the world.
It's so scary.
But then I realized just being my genuine self and being vulnerable and sharing my vulnerable experiences is what made people connect.
Yes.
That real stuff is what makes people connect. And at the end of the day, I did have so many realizations on what opinions and judgments really mean. For myself, they're really just thoughts, negative energy for me. And other people, they're going to have their opinions and judgments on me either way.
Always.
And I realized, at least analyzing my life, the people who judged me most were judging themselves way harder. And it was a reflection of what they had going on. So I learned to not really take anything too personal from a pretty young age. From a pretty young age. And as this art started blowing up, I've got the kindest messages you could imagine, and I've gotten the meanest messages you can imagine. It's just the nastiest. So
how can people be mean to you? I don't get it. Actually, like, if they can be mean to you, like, I tell myself, if they can be mean to him, they can be mean to anyone. Like, he literally does no harm. He doesn't. He says nothing.
But that's
controversial.
The thing. It's within them. It's within them, and that's why it's been the biggest spiritual thing. And it's really upset a lot of people, this all-inclusive love I speak about, because it goes against a lot of people's barriers and limitations, whether that be through culture, religion, background, upbringing. It kind of shatters those paradigms that they've been living in. So if you're saying something that goes against their entire reality, it's going to cause them to react because you're basically in their mind saying, hey, you're wrong, I'm right, which isn't what I'm saying. I'm just including everyone in love.
Right. I think they also just perceive it as a threat to that identity that they're holding on to, right? And that's like a life or death situation. Like, I remember studying this in school about how, like, when someone is countering some of your deeply held beliefs, it's like putting a gun to your head and they're going to be violent. And it's because their ego is like, if that's true, then you don't exist. Like, everything, you're basically dead, bro. Like,
totally.
Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
it's hard to bring yourself back to that when it's happening. You know, I feel like I can get so many great messages, and like that one negative message, like I see my mind fixating on it, and I'm like, that is ridiculous. It's like a 67-to-1 ratio, and my mind is like, but what about that one guy that was not nice?
Totally.
Like, It's hard.
Because we're human and we have feelings too, and we're
Right.
putting our heart out there, and it hurts when somebody's being mean to us. It just does naturally. And it's been an experience for myself, but it's actually been a beautiful spiritual journey for me through these hateful comments, because at first, like you were saying,
I love your water carton. It's just so cool.
oh, thank you. Thank you. Because at first they would stick out. I'd get one out of, like you said, so many nice ones, and I would just be hurt. I would think, oh, darn. And I would want to, the natural reactive in me would want to say, hey, give them a little piece of my mind, or just say something, or at least, count, but I wouldn't. And then over time, it's been like this beautiful tool for realization where I'm at on my spiritual journey when I get these things now. And how much I do let them control my mind, because I do realize that however much it's controlling my mind and I'm letting it eat away at me, it's something that I need to work on, because I'm letting it take up part of my being. And it's still something that I'm working on, but it's become this tool of, okay, it makes me question, okay, who are you really? And then I ask myself that, why are you really doing this, and questioning it. And it almost makes my vision even become a little bit more crystal clear, because I get to filter out through all of this negative energy and figure, okay, this is why I'm doing it again. This is who I am. I was just going to
say, the power of intention, like it really is that, you can criticize the outcome all you want, and I'm sure not everyone's going to love everything, but what I do is I tell myself, like, what was the intention? If the intention is pure, then you did your job here. Like you can't always make everyone happy, but that's the power of asking yourself, like, why am I doing this? And as long as you can answer that question for yourself, you're solid. Like you can that's like your armor against all of that nasty stuff that comes with it.
Totally. And we came here to this earth to help the people like who need it most as well.
I agree.
To just be mean back, that's not going to actually make positive change. And I've realized that a lot of times when I get these hateful comments, now they're really mean ones, I'll just say, I love you. I really love you. And I'll really mean it and send it to them. And I've probably done that 100 times. I don't usually respond to those as mean ones anymore, but I've probably done that 100 times. And only once did somebody send something mean to that. Wow. All of them almost had a change of heart. Some of them didn't say anything. So it just shows that, like, okay, they're seeing what they can get out of you. Are you going to meet them at the level they're at, or are you going to respond with love? And somebody like that who's never got love, real unconditional love from a stranger, who's met with love like that and compassion for the first time instead of hatred back, then it can really change a heart. And like I've said in a post before, I've seen more happen in just a single moment of being present and love together than I have in 1,000 arguments of people trying to say, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. So, it's been a spiritual journey, so I'm with you on that.
I love that.
Because some of those comments are mean.
No, it kind of gets me excited, because I'm like, as I see myself and hopefully, I grow more, that's something that I'm afraid of not being able to handle. And I feel like that's something that's a beautiful way to look at it. They really are spiritual teachers. Every single one of those experiences are ways for us to point at parts of ourselves that are still unhealed, and to remember to respond from that place of love even when we're triggered, and to be better than the person who is, run by those negative emotions and their triggers, rise above that and lead by example. Totally.
And when I find those moments where somebody's being really mean or nasty to me, whether it's in person or online, and I keep a loving vibration and stay in an open place, even though it could be hard to maintain during the time, but after it's over, I feel amazing. I feel like I grew. I feel like I realized that, hey, I am in control. I can maintain this vibration, and it's this beautiful, freeing feeling.
And when you respond negatively, it's the opposite. You leave it feeling so nasty. You feel like you kind of like just took on this shit onto you. You're like, what did I do? Why did I do this? I was fine. I was great. Like, why did I respond to them that way?
Totally. Yeah. Same exact way. Exact way.
So people listening to this, respond with love. Love wins. It really is.
It's true.
It's the ultimate superpower. It really is. So we have two more.
When you end up being mean, you feel bad.
2 more questions. So your picture: find the light, be the light, share the light. Okay. That if I had a motto in life, I think that's it.
Oh.
What would you say to someone who's like, how do I find the light?
What I would say is explore, have fun, don't put pressure on yourself. Everybody thinks they have to find their thing right now and figure out what it is and cultivate that. But like I'm saying, I've been making art for a couple years now, and I'm still trying to find other things all of the time. Don't just look for one thing, explore, see what excites you. You don't have to do what everybody else is doing or what's popular. See what brings up that feeling like when you were a kid.
Yes.
And follow that feeling of excitement and take notice of the moments you feel most in the moment and caught up, and then go from there. And again, no pressure, having fun, because exploring passions and creative outlets, it should be fun. It shouldn't be pressure, or you almost miss the entire point of it.
Yes, I like to tell
So
people
explore.
Treat it like a scavenger hunt. Life is not supposed to be this it's not it's not a mission. It's not like a project that you have to go to work and be like, here, I found my thing. Like, it really is a journey that's supposed to be playful and fun. And I tell people, look for the things that give you energy and not take your energy, and make a note of all of the times where you feel like, wow, I have endless amounts of energy to do this thing. And slowly you start piecing them together, and you could create a whole life and career out of it, even if you think it's not a real job. Like, you can make a whole job out of things that you think are not serious. So I think that's another thing that you inspire me with, is that, I use you as an example for clients all the time. Like, listen, you think this person just said to himself, I'm going to be an artist? Like, no, he just enjoyed drawing, and that brought that light in him, and he's sharing it, and now it can be something that he can live off of, Yes.
And again, that just seems crazy.
It seems crazy.
That I'm an artist making a living off of that. But like you said, you just find something you love. You don't think about having to worry about how will this make a living. This is who I am. You just do what you love and trust in that. And then it's like a magic trick. It might not happen overnight because it does take work, but it happens. It really happens.
But the work is different when you're doing something that gives you energy, because it's not this dreadful, miserable process. It's like you have endless amounts of energy to do those things that light you up. That's the beauty of it. And that's what you deserve to do in life. You deserve to have that life.
I couldn't imagine living a life any way different now.
Same.
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine having to spend an entire day doing something I did not like because I was supposed to or thought I should. I wish freedom for everybody. I feel very grateful
for that, by the way. I think that's like the biggest gift you can have in life, is to really enjoy what you do for most of your days.
Right. Yeah. Me too. I still have most all my family in Illinois working jobs, just, waiting for retirement.
Yeah.
Working just normal jobs to enjoy the later parts of their life. And I just hope that people can start living before that.
Yes.
Truly. I think that would change the world if people started living.
Me too. I think I always tell people, if people loved what they did, we would have different, imagine if every policeman was doing it for the right reason with the right intention, and every teacher was doing it for the right reason with the right intention, and every doctor, that's what the world needs to look like. We need more people to do what really lights them up and not what they're supposed to do. And I think with every person like you who is doing it proudly, openly, fearlessly, and sharing that, it's just another example of how it's possible and how it's not unrealistic. So you're doing a big service to the world by sharing that with everyone.
Thank you. And you're doing the same thing.
Thank you.
You're doing the same thing, sharing your light in the exact same way. And although right now what we're doing may look different, we have the same message. We are doing the exact same work. We're on the exact same mission. So it's cool to know that we're just, what's underneath is this love. And we're just trying to find as many ways to spread it by our being. So it's cool.
Right. So
it's cool.
Speaking of love, this is my last question.
Yes.
I am, as you can see, someone who loves love and people and life, and I see the oneness in all, but even myself, like when I hear you say, I love you to people, there's a part of me that's like, he doesn't really love me. He doesn't know me, And I tell myself, if I have that reaction, I can only imagine people who are less, woo-woo, listening to that and being like, what the fuck? He's a stranger. How can he love me,
Yeah.
And I know that you're happily married, and I'm obsessed with the way that you speak about your wife, just so you know. I'm like, this is gold here. So I know you know what real love is too in a romantic setting, but why do you think people are so triggered by that, or so defensive, or so skeptical of how genuine you are? Because I know you're genuine, and I'm like, okay, he really does love people. I really feel it. So why do you think people are so defensive when it comes to receiving the love that you want to give them?
Honestly, I think it's has to do with some part of their heart being closed up a little bit, a lack of self-love, of seeing themselves fully on the deepest level, because the place I'm saying it is in the deepest part of my being that's always here. That's not, it doesn't matter how you treat me. It doesn't matter if you're mean to me. It doesn't matter if we're together or we're not together. I'm saying it from the deepest part of my awareness in my soul, knowing that the deepest part of me is also the deepest part of you.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and then what I'm really looking at is just a reflection with just their own internal world that they've created in my own internal world. But what's really connecting and looking at each other is the exact same thing. And I've met myself at that depth of love through my spiritual experience. And I'm speaking from that place. And if somebody has not got to know that level or that depth of love, or maybe, and I grew up in a beautiful environment, a family that raised me with so much love and nourished me. And I know that people weren't that lucky to have so much love around them forever. So they didn't have all these parts cultivated within themselves that I do. And they have a lot harder journey when it comes to that and self-love. But what I'm saying is from the purest part of my being, from the deepest part of the pain I felt, from the deepest part of the love I felt, from... It's just who I am. It seems like for me not to say that would seem like a fraud.
Right.
I truly love you. I love you. I love literally, you too. Yeah, I really, really do. I can't even express how much I mean that. That's just who I am. And that's who I've come to know myself to be. And if I know myself to be that, I'd be a hypocrite if I said that you were not that. Or even the person yelling at me was not that. Because how could what's underneath be anything different?
I just want to say that it's so healing for that to be your message, and I want to encourage you to continue spreading that message of love, because it actually does make me feel like it's more possible to love myself more when I hear someone on the other side of the world who doesn't know me. I could literally cry, like, who doesn't even know me, who's never met me in person, say I love you with such sincerity and such a deep authenticity. It really makes me feel seen and heard and valued, and I think that that's the medicine that we need in this world. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your gifts and for coming out of that dark place and sharing your light with everyone. Like, you're a gift. You really are a gift, and I feel so blessed that I get to connect with you personally. I can't even begin to tell you how grateful I am that you gave me this opportunity.
Oh, I feel the exact same way. I feel honestly the exact same way. When I look at you, it makes me cry. Just a reflection of love. And when I look at you, I'm looking into your eyes and I really do see myself. I really, really do. And I see you as a person on your own individual journey that's tried really hard, who's probably went through a lot. I can feel that's at this place now shining. And I can feel that, and I can feel your genuine love and authenticity. And to me, what it is a reflection of who I am. So thank you for being who you are, because it just affirms again who I am. And it's good. I can feel it. I feel good just talking to you.
Same.
And that's love. That's what love feels like.
Yes.
It's just connecting.
Yes, I agree.
At that place. So yeah, thank you for creating this space. And if there's anything I could do to help share or any way, I would love to.
Thank you.
I would love to. I would love what you're doing. I love the
you.
space you created. Not just what you're doing with your life and your not to call job or work or anything like that, but just energetically the space you've created with your being alone. It puts me at a sense of ease and peace and comfort, and allows me to share very comfortably. So, and that's your being is what's created that. That's what's cool. That's your being and the work you've done that's created the space within you for me. So
my face hurts. I can't smile bigger than this. It's actually painful.
Thank you, but I know that. I know you've put in the work, and I know to feel this sense of peace and comfort talking to somebody that you've reached levels within yourself where you've had to look at some major stuff.